Today I'm going to show you how to change a percent to a fraction. And whenever we write a fraction, we try to write it in simplest form. So take a look at these examples. Make sure when you're taking notes on a video that you write down all the examples in your journal or on your note sheet and then transfer it to your journal. And make sure you try all the practice problems and bring them to class tomorrow. So this first example here is 60%. First thing I'm going to notice is it's a percent. And the word percent means out of 100. So 60% means 60 out of 100. And then I'm going to try to simplify it by dividing by the largest number I can think of. In other words, I'm trying to find the greatest common factor. And I can divide these by 20, and that will give me 3/5. That's a pretty easy one. This one's a little more complicated. Look at 12.5%. First of all, if you get a fraction in your percent already, change it to a decimal. What's 12.5 as a decimal? 12.5. So 12.5 is the same thing as 12.5 out of, remember all percents are out of 100, out of 100. Now, we have a different situation here. If you have a decimal in your fraction, I want you to move the decimal to make it a whole number. It makes the whole thing easier to work with, instead of having to divide by decimals. So, you're going to move the decimal as many times as you have to make it a whole number. In this case, we have to move the decimal one time. However, to keep this ratio proportional, if we're going to move this decimal one time, we need to move the denominator's decimal one time. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. It's at the end of the number. So, that means we now have 125 over 1,000, or 1,000. Now, I'm going to try to think of the biggest number I can that goes into 125 and 1,000. And one of the numbers I'm thinking of right now is 25. If I divide them by 25, I can think of quarters. I can think of money. And I know how to divide by quarters. So if you think of this as $1.25, how many quarters does it take to make $1.25? That's 5. If you think of this as $10, how many quarters does it take to make $10? Another way you can look at it is 100 divided by 25, which is 4, and then add on a 0, 40. In this example, I did not divide by the greatest common factor. I divided by 25, and I have a fraction that's still not in simplest form. So now I can divide by 5, and I will get the simplest form, which is 1/8. Okay, make sure you have those examples copied, and I would like you to try 1A and 1B here. Go ahead and pause the video and try to change 1A and 1B into fractions in simplest form. Unpause when you're finished, and we'll go over them. Okay, let's take a look at what you got. 40% means 40 out of 100. Hopefully you divided by 20. If you divided by something else, that's still a right way to do the problem. Hopefully you got to the right answer, which is if you divide by 20, you get 2/5. Sometimes you might have to divide and divide and divide a few times before you get the simplest form. Here's a trickier one. How did you write 3/4 as a decimal? Did you realize it was 3/4? And 3/4 are 0.75? So this is 20.75 over, all percents are out of 100, so out of 100. In this case, we're going to have to move the decimal 2 times. So we now have 2075 divided by, don't forget to move this decimal 2 times. That means this number is going to be 10,000. Now, depending on what you thought of, maybe you divided by 5, maybe you divided by 25. Let's take a look. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 25, which is a little tricky here. You might have to do a little long division to figure out your answer. So I'm going to show you that. 2,075 divided by 25. And 25 doesn't go into 2 or 20, but it goes into 200 8 times. If you think of quarters, 25 into $2, that would be 8 quarters. Okay, remainder 7, and bring down 5, and 25 goes into 75 3 times exactly. So my top number is going to be 83 over. Now I have to do 10,000 divided by 25, and I'm going to use a shortcut. I'm going to look for 100. Do you see the 100 divided by 25? And I know that is 4. And then I'm just going to add on the 2 zeros. So if 100 divided by 25 is 4, 10,000 divided by 25 is 400. Now I know 83 is a prime number. That is my simplest form. I can't go any further with this one. Let's take a look at 2 more examples. Sometimes your percents can be less than 1 or greater than 100%. Take a look at these two. 0.8%. Same process. If you have a decimal over 100, just move it to make it a whole number. And however many times you move this decimal, you're going to move the decimal in the denominator as well. So I now have 8 over 1,000. Okay, what can we divide by? I could divide by 2, they're both even numbers. I can divide by 4 here. Let's divide by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. Put on the 0. If you're not following me on how I'm doing these division mentally, then just write them out. Just do a little long division. I'm noticing that I can divide further. I have even numbers, so that means they're both still divisible by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 250 divided by 2. Think about it. What's half of 200? 100. What's half of 50? 25. So half of 250 is 125. I could have divided by 8 here. We don't always know that. So again, divide as many times as you have to get the simplest form. I'll just write down what I divided by. I divided by 4, and then I divided by 2. Sometimes it takes a little while to get to the final answer. Okay, here we have something different. 175%. A percent can be more than 100. Okay, so 175 over 100, first thing I'm going to notice is this is an improper fraction. I have an improper fraction. There's a lot of ways I could do this problem. I could try to, I can first try to simplify. I could divide by 25. I divide by 25. Again, I'm thinking of money. It would take 7 quarters to make $1.75. So that's 7. And then 4 quarters to make $1. And then it's a little easier now to divide. 7 divided by 4, we know how to do this. 4 goes into 7 one time with a remainder of 3. So here's my mixed number, 1 and 3 fourths. Here's my final answer, 1 and 3 fourths. I want to back up a second and show you another way I could have approached this. In the very beginning, if you see the percent is more than 100, you can automatically try to take out the wholes. So what I could have done here is, since I saw 100, I could have automatically written this as a mixed number as 1 and 75 over 100. And then simplify this by dividing by 25, and I'll have 1 and 3 fourths. Okay? So watch out, when you have a percent that's more than 100, you're going to have a mixed number. You're going to have some wholes. If it's 100 something percent, you're going to have 1 and a fraction. If it's 200 something percent, you're going to have 2 and some fraction. Try 2 last examples and then we'll be finished with this lesson. 2A and 2B. Try those problems, pause the video, unpause when you're finished, and we'll go over them. Alright, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly just to wrap up and make sure you understand how to turn a percent into a fraction. So 0.2 over 100 is the same thing as 2 over 1,000. And if you divide by 2, you get 1 over 500. How did you do on that one? Check your work. 150%. First thing I hope you noticed is that's more than 100. So that's 1 whole, and 50 over 100, all percents are still out of 100. And 50 over 100 can be divided by 50, so that's 1 and 1/2. How'd you do? Okay, if I went a little too quickly, the beauty of these videos is you can rewind, you can pause, you can watch it again, you can watch specific parts again. So do that as you need to, and make sure you bring all your notes tomorrow, and we will practice changing percents to fractions.